Hey guys, and welcome back to another Sunday sermon with Ola. I'm gonna take a guess and say that this is sermon number 15. I feel like it is. I feel like it's sermon number 15. You guys know I never remember which number it is. And it's literally like I always forget to check. Every week I'm like, next week, just check before you start recording. And yet here I am again, guessing after the camera's already been turned on. Alright. Welcome to. I'm calling it episode 15 regardless. This is episode 15. Um, Welcome, man. Thank you guys for rocking with me. It's 15 straight weeks, man. This is no small feat. This is a big deal for me. You know, this is consistency. This is every week plugging the mic in, turning the cameras on, doing the lighting, editing it, chopping up the clips, all of that stuff. And I'm really, really grateful for all you guys who keep listening, who tune in the morning. Some of you wake up early on Sunday morning. It drops at 9 a.m. usually on my channel. So the fact that you guys are on the actual live premiere of it, chatting in the comments, saying what you're thinking as you're watching it, that's dope. And you people that tune in for the Instagram live at 8 p.m. on the Sunday, God continue to bless you guys. Thank you to all the Patreon subscribers who are just staying faithful and generous as always, engaging both in the content but also in the business of making the content. I appreciate you so much. I hope you guys are able to see the effort that comes from your financial backing, and that you see value as always. I want to take this moment to do a quick shout out as well. I have not seen the results at the time of recording this, but I just want to give a quick shout out to my bro Nabil. I've mentioned him a couple of times on the podcast where he has been involved in some aspect or story of mine. I think it was when I was talking about coming back from New York and last week, and I said that he was the one that told me that I'd leveled up. Yeah, in the finals, Britain's Got Talent, man. It's something that I turned down on many occasions to go do because I was like, I think they're gonna. I'm not really right for the show. I don't feel like I could go and there be myself. But I think the way Nabil's done it, he's been unapologetically himself, and I respect that. And yeah, it's family entertainment. It's Saturday night, but I think Nabil's bringing the vibes. He's bringing the flavor. So much respect to him, and I hope that by the time this goes out, we're celebrating that victory. We're saying, yo, Nabil really came through and did it. Obviously we've had Toju, Deliso, Kojo. There's been a few black comedians who've been on and had some level of success, but I'm hoping that Nabil really takes it all the way tonight. So big up Nabil. All right, a lot of shout outs, a lot of preamble. Let's get into this topic. Okay, so today's topic is based on a video. As always, there's always one video floating around the internet. So this video is of a woman named Jeannie May, I believe, and she's on one of these sort of women's panel talk shows, like a Loose Women kind of thing that we have here, but an American version. I think it's called The Real, or one of those kind of shows. And she's talking about how she's going to submit to her husband. Now, I'm not sure she is married or is about to marry or something, but she's with the rapper Young Jeezy. And she's talking about, she gives her own definition of what it means to submit. She makes it clear what she doesn't mean, and she makes it clear what she does mean. So she means that she's saying that it doesn't mean that she's going to be a doormat, or, that she's going to be basically dominated. But she's saying that she is very dominant in her life, in terms of her career and so on. When she comes home, she quite clearly wants a man to submit. No, a man to submit to, sorry. And she wants a man to lead her. And so she even makes the point of saying that it's exhausting trying to lead all the time, which I think is an interesting way to put it. But much respect to her. She's giving her own point of view. And to be honest, this is one that's always controversial, right? Should women submit to men? Should women submit to their husbands? there are a lot of people who still have a lot of negative connotations with the idea of submitting. So whichever way you spin it to them, they're just not going to do it. And there are a lot of women who are like, yeah, I see no problem with this. Then there are a lot of women who say it, but with a caveat, like, yeah, as long as he's worth submitting to. But then I'm thinking to myself, why would you marry anybody that you don't think is worth submitting to? That doesn't make sense to me. If you don't trust his leadership, why would you even marry him in the first place? But let's not get into that. So I think, it's interesting because I come at it from a Christian point of view, and being a Christian, it's quite clear in the Bible. There's an instruction there, and the thing about the instruction is, it's not conditional. Obviously, when we look at doctrine, we can see that you shouldn't submit to your husband if he's asking you to do something that is sinful. Just by sound doctrine, you can put that together. That if your husband is submitted to God, he's not going to lead you astray. So you can't be like saying, oh, this is the vision for the family, we're gonna start doing fraud, and you're like, well, I'm submitting to my husband, so we're doing fraud as a family business now. Like, that's not what that scripture's about. But what it does do is it establishes an order in the home in which there's authority. Now, obviously, when you start to talk about authority, in the way that the world views authority, you start to talk about people being superior. This is your superior, and therefore they have authority. And so a lot of that discourse breaks down because of I feel like everyone's having their own conversation. We're not really discussing the same point. Whenever you hear be submissive, it conjures up a different image for different people, and so therefore they're all having a conversation based on what their version of it is. But I also think that we keep having half of the discussion. We keep having a half of the discussion because we keep talking about women submitting. And I would really, on today's pod, like to focus on the other half of the conversation, which is men leading. Now, I did mention that a lot of women will make the caveat that they will only submit if a guy is worth submitting to. But, and I do think that it's a ridiculous thing to say, because that should go without saying, in the sense that, like, you should only be marrying somebody who you trust enough in that way. I don't think you should be marrying somebody, but deep down you feel like you still have to lead them. I don't think so anyway, as a woman anyway. But that's just my own point of view, and that's obviously, like I said, from a Christocentric biblical point of view. But I also feel like, especially if I'm going to come at this as a Christian, I have to balance this with the charge put on men. And, as men, we really need to keep developing the crop of husbands coming for the sisters, right? Because if, like, I have a daughter right now, I would hope there's a decent man out there who's going to come and propose to her one day. But if nobody's really tending to the crop, if nobody's really developing the next generation of husbands, it's going to be slim pickings. It's going to be slim pickings, and that's a problem, I know that we spend a lot of time focusing on wives needing to submit and women need to be, trained to be wives and so on. I still feel like, even if we spend that much time focusing on it, doesn't mean all of you are getting it right. So before you start on the whole, yeah, man, it's always so much on us, blah, blah, blah. I agree with you, but I don't think it always means that you're getting it right, or that you've actually listened or internalized or really made the growth that's necessary. So we're not going to do any kind of mudslinging. We're not going to do like, oh, there are all these perfect women out there, and if only the men would step up. And at the same time, we're not going to pretend there's all these perfect men out there. If only the women would just get better at whatever, then they would find a husband or whatever. We're not going to do it. It's not. I want to remove the conditional aspect of it. I want us to start focusing on what we need to do in our roles, and the growth and the healing and whatever it is that needs to take place in order for that to happen individually. Right? So if I'm talking to men, I'm talking to husbands, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to you based on how your wife is behaving. I'm not saying, look, be a good husband for as long as your wife is being a good wife. Because that conditionality is how we, like, that's how we skip out on our responsibilities most of the time, is that we can usually point the finger. And blame shifting, if you know anything about the scripture, blame shifting is exactly how the breakdown between men and women started. I'm going to quickly check on this mic because for some reason there's been a breakdown in an error. There's been some kind of error with the computer. Let's see if it's even still recording. It is still recording. Oh, well, it's just the computer messing up. Alright, as long as it's recording, all good. So, yeah, I can't actually even see myself anymore. I can't monitor it. Let's just hope it all works out. Alright. So, where was I? I'm saying to you that this concept of submission in the Bible is balanced out with the idea that as a man, you're supposed to embody the kind of leader that Jesus was. The Bible says that a man should love his wife as Christ loved the church, giving up himself for her. And, obviously I've made this point before in the marital name episode about the fact that, literally the least you can give your wife is everything, in the sense that you must be even willing to die for her. But that's quite an extreme case. So I want us to start looking at some of the more practical ways that us men can lead our wives, in love. We have to be very clear on the fact that, like, this leadership thing is not a sense of, like, I have my way and you follow, and that's just it. It's still a collaborative process. But you see, the point of leading is, first of all, is to start off with initiation. That means being willing to step out and address issues rather than constantly be fielding issues, if you get my point. It's very important as men, right? Because the thing is, what will happen sometimes in the household is that, your wife will say, oh, we need to fix the boiler, the kids need new school uniforms, we don't pray enough, and blah, blah, blah. And then you basically treat it as like you're a government body and people are just bringing their proposals to you and you either approve or deny. And that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about taking a proactive approach. You need to set a vision for the house. You need to step out there and say, look, we aren't praying enough, and this is my plan to make sure that as a family we're praying together. Our finances are not in a great place. I think this is what we need to be doing. And even if you are not the great financial planner of all time, if your wife is, it's saying to her, look, I recognize you're better than me in this area, or you got a skill that's going to help our family develop our finances. So the overall vision is for us to be debt-free in 5 years' time, and for us to have this much in savings and go towards buying a property or whatever it is. How can we get there? I know that you look at the numbers, you look at the bills, blah, blah, blah. How can we do that? You sit down together, you come up with a plan. What happens when you do that is your wife goes, oh, I can relax now. I can chill. He's actually going to think of things. And yes, he's still going to consult me on the issue. And yes, we're still going to work together. But I can trust him. I don't have to constantly check everything he does. I don't have to follow up. This guy's always going to, fluff up the issue, or he's going to be ignorant of something. He's going to let stuff slide. He's going to be on top of it. And that peace of mind, I think, is invaluable and is a big part of submission, is to lead in terms of initiation, to initiate on the issues, to not wait for her to complain about it. She may see some things you don't see. right? Like if let's say she does the majority of the laundry and she realizes there's a problem with the washing machine because she uses it every day. That's not to say you should have seen it or you should be going around with a checkboard doing inspection of the machines in your house. If she does come to you and say, "Oh, there's an issue with the washing machine," that's fine. But in terms of getting a plan together for the home, I think that's something that us men we need to work on and be clear on that this is our role. This is what we play in the whole submission conversation. I hope you understand that this is going to be highly targeted at the men. Um, I know sisters will definitely be listening in, and I know some of you are tempted right now to be like to take this as ammunition, and that's not the point. The point here is, like I said, we're tending to the crop. We're developing ourselves, and so as this Jeannie May came out to say her part, I think it's very important that males also give their counterpart and also speak to how much they want to lead their wives and what that looks like. Cool. So we've spoken about initiation. The the second point that I would like to address in terms of leading our wives is in terms of service. Service is tough because like as men and women, we have our needs. We go into marriage and we're like, oh, in this marriage, I'm gonna have my needs met, right? I have a need. Like, okay, so there's this marriage guy, Jimmy Evans, who I've watched so many of his videos and learnt from and taken, his teachings. And, he gives this very clear breakdown of like the four mega needs of a man, the four mega needs of a woman. And, whether or not you agree with it, I think there's wisdom in it. And he says, that, for example, the four mega needs of a man, the number one mega need actually is honor and respect. That's what men would live for. Second two, the number two main need of a man is sex. Then it's for his wife to be his best friend. And then number four is for domestic support. And he says on a woman's side, the number one mega need, the mega need is security. Number two is non-sexual affectionate touch. Number three is open and honest communication. And number four is for her husband to be a loving and initiating leader of the home. Now, if you take those principles, they actually all match up with each other, right? So they all are us basically coming to our marriage or our relationship looking for a specific need to be met. A man's coming in and he's looking for honor and respect of his wife, and his wife is coming to him and looking for security, be that emotional security, financial security, whatever it is. And the issue with it when we come with our needs is that, first of all, we don't tend to understand the other person's need. We translate their need into our need. We're like, if a man, for example, isn't making much money, if a woman complains to him, she's complaining from the language of security. She needs the security, and if he's, let's say, not going out and getting a steady job or whatever it is, she's crying out from that angle. What he's hearing is a lot of dishonor and disrespect because he doesn't have money, which doesn't achieve the aim, by the way. It doesn't get him to where he needs to be. All it does is it drives them further and further apart. Right? So you're talking about essentially two people going, this is my need. This is my need. I need this. I need. The thing about service, coupled with initiation, by the way, is that you shift the focus to understanding what your partner's need is and understanding it with skill, not just in a general approach, not just in like, I feel like this is what you need, or, this is what you asked for, or whatever it is. Understanding the keys and the codes and what they're saying, what they're truly asking for, and meeting that need, regardless of if your needs are being met. That's tough. Because if you think about it, I don't know how many men who feel disrespected and dishonored can continuously meet their wife's need for security. Maybe. I've seen it actually. I've seen guys that get disrespected by their wives and they still provide financial security at least. I've seen it. Okay. But okay, how many men can provide their wife's need for non-sexual affectionate touch if they're not getting sex? It's tough. It's tough because every time she's saying to you that she wants you to hold her, you're translating that into your need, which is sex. And every time you're trying to have sex with her, she's translating it into her need and thinking, why does this guy want sex all the time? Why doesn't he just cuddle me? You're both essentially looking at each other and going, there's something wrong with you. I don't understand why you can't just be more like me. And when you start to focus more on service, it really, really does a work inside of you. It starts to break down selfish tendencies. It starts to break down the extent to which you don't have discipline, or you give into cravings of what your body wants. You really start to focus on the fact that, hey, maybe it's not all about me. And that's tough. It's a tough thing to do. So what I'm asking you men to do is, I'm asking the women to do the same thing, but I'm asking you to start, which is tough. It's tough. If you are with a woman and you guys are both got into a habit of not meeting each other's needs and constantly offending each other and whatnot, to ask one person to be the quote unquote bigger person, to start loving unconditionally, truly unconditionally, that's tough, man. That is tough. I'm not asking it lightly. I'm saying I get it. I'm in it with you. I'm not just talking from theory. I'm talking in terms of practice here. But as men, if we're talking about women submitting to us, we have to lead on this issue of service. We are supposed to serve one another. I agree. I believe in that. But if we both stand here and go, well, she's not serving me, and she's going, but he's not serving me, then no one gets served. You're just two people trying to angle for your own way. And it doesn't work. It really doesn't work, man. I can save you years of heartache if you just listen to me now. If you just focus now on loving unconditionally. Like, yo, even if you're disrespecting me, I'm gonna meet your needs. I'm gonna meet you. I'm talking about needs right now. I'm not saying your wife's disrespecting you, so you then go out and buy her, you know, thousands of pounds of jewelry or whatever it is. Then you just turning yourself into an absolute doormat. I'm talking about meet her needs. I'm talking about provide her with the security that she needs. Speak the language of security to her. Protect her emotionally, whatever it is that's necessary in security. Touch her, with affection, without expecting your own sexual needs to be met. It's tough. That's a tough one. Communicate openly and honestly. Give her details when she's talking. Have hold conversations with her. Give her your time. Give her your attention. All of that stuff. And then on top of that, initiate on the things of the home. Initiate on the things of your marriage. Go and seek out a course and say, look, I'd like us to try this course. Go and plan a date night. Go and, have a look at the kind of schools you'd like to send your kids to. Whatever it is, go initiate on stuff like that. Keep doing that, bro. You can make your complaint. You can say, look, I don't feel like my needs are being met. But that should never be a reason to withhold or withdraw your own service. Because then it's not service. Then you're simply doing transactional. You're simply saying, I haven't been paid. This invoice is unpaid. Therefore, goods and services will be removed. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about serving. And to the sisters, yes, I'm asking you to serve. I'm asking you to meet your husband's sexual needs, even if you feel like, oh, he doesn't meet my need for financial security right now. If you guys truly love each other, you work it out, yeah, but it doesn't get worked out by you guys withholding stuff and manipulating each other into getting your way. All right. Service is the main one I wanted to focus on, because it definitely highlights a different kind of leadership. One of the things that really made Christ quite revolutionary is that, it says in the scripture that, in this world, people become leaders basically to lord it over other people. You want to be on top, you want to be in charge so you can use it to further more and more of your own aims, to get people to serve your will, to serve your agenda. And very rarely is it about you leading so you can serve the people you are leading. Right now people are protesting in Nigeria um, over the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, I believe it's called. Um, anyway, the acronym SARS. And these guys have been notorious in terms of police brutality. Just literally, they could look at a young man and decide that he has tattoos, so he's definitely a criminal, and just harass him, beat him up, kidnap him, seize his phone, take his jewelry, take money, take bribes, whatever it is. These guys have been running rampant. And it just speaks to the heart of what human beings are like when they're given authority. It speaks to the heart of what people are like when they get power. And it's like, imagine if they really used that power to serve. Imagine if the police were really about serving and protecting. Imagine. It's tough. It's tough to imagine because we haven't seen it. But it's a concept that we love the idea of. We enshrine it in our civic institutions, but we don't know it for real because we struggle with it on the most basic level of like the one person that you claim to love and want to spend the rest of your life with. You still struggle to serve and protect. You're still very conditional. You're still very like, oh, I'm upset because so and so did this, therefore I'm withdrawing, my love and affection from them. So how do you expect police officers to do it for some strangers? Yeah, I understand they get paid and so on, but to be honest, like, and if anything, the police example shows you more and more of what I'm saying. Police aren't rich people. They're not paid, like city bankers, for example. So what is it that makes a man go out there and run into, answer a complaint where a woman is being held at gunpoint and try and rescue her and, take down the bad guy and possibly get shot themselves? Or answer to an armed robbery or whatever it is. What makes a policeman do that? Or a policewoman do that? Why would they do it? Ask yourself. I think the reason why you find so many men in those kind of roles is not just because of like a physical prowess or whatever. I think it's because for a lot of men, being a policeman meets their need for honor and respect. It's a mega need for men. It's a mega need. And obviously we see women become police officers as well. So it's not exclusive. That's not doctrine in and of itself. It's not gospel. But what I'm saying is that you see a trend like that we're in jobs that it seems that we give them more respect because they're men, but it's not that way. Men seek out the jobs where they get honor and respect. If you mock a man in a job, you'll find very few men in that job. Any job where there's disrespect, you find very few men there. There are jobs with low pay, but a lot of respect put on it. You'll find plenty of men there. Whereas you'll find some jobs that don't have much respect, but if they provide a certain stability, certain income, certain in financial stability, or some kind of something that makes the woman feel secure, women might trade off money for some security. I've spoken to sisters that I'm like, yo, why haven't you changed jobs yet? They're like, I like my job, it's flexible, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at it like, yo, all right, so you're willing to trade off having more money for the security of being in this job. I'm like, they don't even respect you here, man. Look how much they're paying you. They're constantly trying to knock down your money, blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, but they do this and they do that. I'm like, all right, fine. I wouldn't take that if I was you. I've seen men leave jobs because someone else got a promotion and they feel like that was disrespectful. So I'm saying, like, if you understand somebody else's mega need, you know how to serve them best. So yes, men, I'm talking about initiating, but I'm also talking about serving. I really want us to like up our service game. Probably not the most exciting charge, for men. I'm very aware of sometimes I'll get sisters say to me stuff like, you need to go speak to the brothers, man. You need to go and speak to your brothers. And I'll be like, well, why would they listen to me? This ain't sexy, talking about serving. Talk about serving while you're not having your needs met. You're more likely want to be like 50 Cent and have your needs met, and, it doesn't really matter what these women want. You're getting your needs met. But for the men that really who do find something valuable in this, I hope that you take something from this to heart, and it just encourages you to work on your service game with people around you in general, but specifically your wife. So when you're having the conversation about submission, it always comes with the conversation about what it means to serve and lead. All right. I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to hear from you guys about the conversation around submission and leading in today's or tonight's Instagram live. So join in, man. Jump on. I want to hear your thoughts. Shout out to everybody that's still showing love. Shout out to everybody on the Patreon as always. And you guys, as always, stay blessed.